here today with Mike Graham, one of the most popular presenters at Talk Radio. By one of this country's best media presenters, Talk Radio's Julia Harley-Brewer. By Isabel Oakeshott, one of the top political journalists and commentators in this country. The Brexit hero and Conservative MP Nigel Evans. With Toby Young, the founder of the Free Speech Union. Well, yes, Annunciata Rees-Mogg, the former Conservative MEP.
So, thanks for coming on the show, Madeline.
Hello, Tom. Welcome to the channel.
Hi, great to be here.
Now we're joined by the one and only Nigel Farage. How are you, Nigel?
Fine, thanks, Mike. Good, yeah.
Some of us are moving on. Not everybody's apparently accepting the result. Right, let's talk about Greta Thunberg. The EU member states attacked the Commission and Germany are now in trouble. If we need more nurses, we will bring more nurses. If we don't need low-skilled workers, we won't bring low-skilled workers. So I'm currently on Edgware Road and this place is absolutely crazy. I mentioned Owen Jones having this weird meltdown for absolutely no reason.
They don't know what's about to come. This building is about to cause chaos again.
Like one of these, but, well, these are actual real flags, but the European Union flag, one of those fake flags. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this planet. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to you guys with some breaking news. A bit of victory for freedom and common sense, but it comes with a but. A very, very big but. Yes, this is about the clash between the banking sector and Nigel Farage, and of course many others like Nigel who have been cancelled recently. Not just by banks, but by many other institutions. This is the time to, for now, celebrate a bit of a win. But I'm going to explain why we have to be cautious about this. This is obviously the clash between Coutts & Co. and the NatWest group that owns Coutts & Co. And NatWest is essentially a government bank, publicly funded partly. This became a bit of a controversy, mostly because the council culture took over. They initially lied to the public. They cooperated with the BBC, and the BBC became the mouthpiece of Coutts & Co. and NatWest. They came and lied to the public, saying, well, Nigel Farage that just doesn't have enough money in the account, so that's why we removed his account. Then that became, obviously it was exposed that was nonsense, and then we discovered it was because they have a reputational committee that decides if you have controversial views, if you have views that are conservative or pro-Brexit, so because it's a threat. Now we have a situation that where the boss of NatWest, who is in charge of Coutts & Co., Dame Alison Rose, has come out to send an apology letter to Nigel Farage. On top of that, Jeremy Hunt, under a lot of pressure, has done something right. There are some rules that have now officially been changed very quickly about how banks deal with their customers. So we're going to give you the good news, and we're going to give you the cautious warning about why this is not a full-on victory. So we have this letter from Dame Alison Rose, DBE, from the NatWest Group. Let's go through it together quickly, and then I'm going to share you my thoughts with you. So, dear Mr. Farage, I am writing to apologize for the deeply inappropriate comments about yourself made in the now published papers prepared for the Wealth Committee. I would like to make it clear that they do not reflect the view of the bank. Now wait for this. I believe very strongly that the freedom of expression and access to banking are fundamental to our society, and it is absolutely not our policy to exit a customer on the basis of legally held political and personal views. To this end, I would also like to personally reiterate our offer to you of alternative banking arrangements at NatWest. I fully understand yours and the public's concern that the processes for bank account closure are not sufficiently transparent. Customers have a right to expect their bank to make consistent decisions against publicly available criteria and those decisions should be communicated clearly and openly with them within the constraints imposed by the law. Okay, she continues by saying that to achieve this, sector-wide change is required, but your experience highlighted in recent days has shown that we need to also put our own processes under scrutiny too. As a result, I am commissioning a full review of the Coutts processes for how these decisions are made and communicated to ensure we provide better, clearer, and more consistent experience for customers in the future. The review will be reporting to me as NatWest Group CEO. I welcome the FCA's reviews of regulatory rules associated with politically exposed persons, and we will implement the recommendations of our review alongside any changes that they or the government makes to the overall regulatory framework. Okay, Alice, yours sincerely, Alison Rose. Couple of issues. So firstly, yay, celebrate, happy, victory for freedom, common sense. Couple of problems with this. So, condescending, lovely for that. Lack of Oxford comma is very problematic in that letter. But if NatWest Group or Coutts & Co. truly cared about Nigel Farage as one of their customers, one of their loyal customers, instead of just sending that apology letter and offering an alternative bank account at NatWest, they would just give him his old bank account back. Just give him his account. It's not really rocket science, is it? So why is it that they are sending out this apology? They are very, very genuine, trying to be genuine. They're trying to win the PR battle. I can assure you, this letter took them probably half a day to write, probably more. They had meetings and meetings and meetings with the PR managers, with the lawyers and everybody to carefully word that, and they still managed to miss the most important part. Give him his bank account back. Why are you offering an alternative account at NatWest? NatWest, are you kidding me? That's all he wanted. Just not have any disruption with his life. But you created that disruption. If you want to be sorry about it, instead of sending out a letter, just focus on giving his bank account back. But yeah, so I'm also concerned about the punctuation and the grammar, and of course lack of Oxford comma in that letter, considering it took them hours to write that letter. So that aside, as I said, there's also other good news that obviously Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor has been under a lot of pressure in recent days, and he had to come out alongside the Prime Minister to support Nigel Farage, saying, yeah, this is outrageous, we should do something about this. And they said we're going to review the changes, the rules and everything else. So the changes in the rules in terms of banks like NatWest and Coutts & Co. The new changes are, wait for this. So there are good changes, but I'm still skeptical. They now say if a bank is going to cancel you, they're going to have to explain the reasoning behind it. So until now, they didn't have to. So Nigel didn't know exactly why they cancelled him. So he had to make a big deal, make a scene publicly until they were forced to give out the reason, right? Now, the issue with that, also, I'm just seeing some comments in live chat about your opposition against the Oxford comma. I'm going to come back to Oxford comma. But the problem with that is banks and institutions could still come up with fake excuses. And they could still tick that box saying, well, we gave a reasoning. Like the initial reasoning to Nigel Farage was a lie. They said he didn't meet the financial thresholds. That was a lie. So they could still do that. But they've also given another power to the customers. This is a new change. And that's a power to appeal. So that's good. That didn't exist before either. So it's a good change. But how efficient are we going to have this system actually be? Because we know that FCA obviously is going to be oversighting everything else. But in reality, banks or any of these institutions could still receive the appeal application and they could still reject it because they've already come up with their fake excuse and reasoning in the first place. So the changes that will be made are not that radical. But it's still a victory. We should still celebrate for now. And as you can see in this photo of Nigel, yes, the good old days of Brexit. And again, people like Dame Alison Rose, who is now going around telling everybody that I'm going to, for those of you who joined late, I'm going to read the letter again quickly for you guys as well. Going around saying, oh, we apologize for cancelling you over your political views. It doesn't represent everybody at the bank, for example. It doesn't represent my views. I mean, there's a video that I'm going to be uploading at 7:30 p.m. tonight, in about an hour or so, an hour and a half, about the boss of Coutts & Co. So obviously Alison Rose is the boss of NatWest Group, who's the boss of Coutts & Co. And we're going to expose her, the boss of Coutts & Co., the managing director, because she's an anti-Brexit, EU rejoiner, leftist, pro-climate, everything, pro-diversity and everything else. So do not go around saying that the decision to cancel you wasn't representative of people in this bank. Your own bosses are left-wing and anti-Brexit. So you have your own biases. Be honest about it, and then at least we know where we stand with you. So that was also a bit of a lie. That's also my other problem. But yeah, this letter, again, as I said, my main problem with this, it's good that they've apologized. Fine. Well done. I'm so proud of you guys. And it'd probably take you half a day to write the letter. But if you truly cared, as I said, you would just give Nigel his bank account back. It's not difficult. Instead, you've come to offer an alternative arrangement at NatWest. Why would anyone want to have a bank account with NatWest? So it's not the 1990s anymore. But customer service has gone down massively anyway. The issue with all this is that nothing big is going to change unless we actually continue to dig, continue to expose them. That's the issue. So, as I said, 7:30 p.m. tonight, there's a video that I'm doing. It's about the managing director of Coutts & Co. I'm still going to upload that. I'm still going to publish that video, despite this apology letter, because it's important for people to know what sort of people we are dealing with. People in the position of power, people in authority. Because otherwise, we are the ones with our heads buried in sand, and we are allowing the authoritarian establishment to continue to run our lives and essentially mess us up if we don't behave. And there's no accountability. These are not the people we voted for. There's no democracy in this. So the best way to do it is to hold them to account using the new platforms, the new media, and of course social media. That's exactly how Nigel Farage managed to do it. With his Twitter account and his show on GB News, if he didn't have that, if he wasn't Nigel Farage, none of this would have come out. This apology letter wouldn't have come out, and these changes that I mentioned wouldn't have come out. So we do have people power. We just need to find the right ways to use our people power, because you can't use the traditional way anymore. You can't. In the past, you could use your local representative, a member of parliament in the House of Commons. You could use them as the bridge between you and power. Then you could exercise your people power through your MP. That doesn't happen anymore. Everything and everyone is becoming tribal, including the establishment. You have to be like them to join the establishment. This is the issue. Anyway, my rant is over. Let's, for those of you who joined late, let's quickly go over this letter and see what they had to say. I'm going to read it quickly. Alison Rose, the boss, the CEO of NatWest Group, said, "Dear Mr. Farage, I'm writing to apologize for the deeply inappropriate comments about yourself made in the now published papers prepared for the Wealth Committee. I would like to make it clear that they do not reflect the view of the bank." That's a lie. "I believe very strongly that freedom of expression and access to banking are fundamental to our society, and it is absolutely not our policy to exit the customer on the basis of legally held political and personal views. To this end, I would also like to personally reiterate our effort to you of alternative banking arrangements at NatWest." Here we go. "I fully understand yours and the public's concern that the processes for the bank account closure are not sufficiently transparent. Customers have a right to expect their bank to make consistent decisions against publicly available criteria, and those decisions should be communicated clearly and openly with them within the constraints imposed by the law." She finishes by saying that to achieve this, sector-wide change is required, but your experience, highlighted in recent days, has shown that we need to also put our own processes under scrutiny too. As a result, I am commissioning a full review of the Coutts processes for how these decisions are made and communicated to ensure we provide better and clearer and more a consistent experience for customers in the future. The review will be reporting to me as NatWest Group CEO and everything else. Okay, so the reason I said this letter would probably definitely took at least half a day or maybe a couple of days to write is because of how carefully worded it is. They got all the lawyers and all the PR officers involved in the meeting room to write this. Did you see what she said in the middle of the letter? Then she said, we need sector-wide changes. And with your experience, okay, what does it say? Considering your experience with, no, it's the next page, isn't it? It said, yeah, but your experience highlighted in recent days, so we appreciate you. No. What she means is that you bullied us. You put pressure on us using your platform, Nigel, with your influence, Nigel. Instead of saying that, they said, with your experience highlighted in recent days, we probably need your input. It's nonsense. They're all lying to everybody. All right. What do we have here? Let's go to the live chat, get your reaction as well. Lauren says, also, Mahyar, what about the possible law coming into place where the bank will do credit checks and have access to your comments you make on the media? This has flavors of China. It must be stopped. So one thing we know, not necessarily this one, because it's not confirmed, any of this. One thing, I mean, it could easily happen. It's, you know, these ideas are in place already. One thing that's definitely going to be happening is the digital currencies. They're going to be able to program the digital currencies so that that will essentially be a version of social credit system, because if you don't behave the right way, they can control how much you can spend your money on what, right? This is exactly what Justin Trudeau did with freezing people's bank accounts, not necessarily just the truckers who were protesting, but people, ordinary people who were showing support to the truckers' convoy and the protesters. They froze their bank account as well. Imagine how easily they can do all this when they have more technology, when they have digital currencies, when they have ID system, the new ID cards and everything else. This is what we have to be worried about. So they can send out their apology letters if they want to. It doesn't matter, because unless we've changed the fundamental reforms that are coming in, and the reform is usually sounds like a good word, but sometimes a bad word. There are negative reforms coming into place, changing everything about our society and our system. If we don't change that, if we don't stop this new wave of authoritarian, centralized nonsense, then we're all going to be in trouble. David says, has the woke CEO woman resigned? She needs to go. That's the thing. This letter was published, obviously, half an hour ago, just as the news headlines were changing. So about a couple of hours ago, we saw even the mainstream media reporting on how MPs are saying that Alison Rose must resign. And that moment was when clearly they had the last meeting, emergency meeting in their offices, and said, let's finalize this letter and let's just publish it. And that was the thing, because the pressure to resign is now gone. I've been checking Twitter. I've been checking the mainstream media outlets. No one's talking about her resigning anymore. But for like about 10 minutes they were. So I believe there has to be some accountability that needs to be taken. And I have a feeling she's going to get away with it. And it's not just about her. It's also about the managing director of Coutts & Co. Because Rose is the CEO of the NatWest Group. But you've got the managing director of Coutts & Co. As I said, there's a video I'm publishing at 7:30 p.m. Make sure to watch that, because that will basically open a lot of eyes about what sort of people we are dealing with. Okay. Farage, the big hero who helped Starmer and Sturgeon remove Boris, then Liz. I don't think Boris and Nigel Farage had any influence on removing Boris or Liz Truss, by the way. The people who removed Boris initially was his own downfall, but it was the rest of the media. In fact, Nigel Farage came out to defend Boris Johnson during that era, and Nigel Farage defended Liz Truss's budget as well. What else do we have for you guys? It's all Fishy Rishi. I always forget to use that nickname, the Fishy Rishi one. I always say Rashid Sunook in honor of Joe Biden. What do we have? Oh yeah, so James says, and don't forget about the legislation on bail-ins. So there is this issue, the cultural problem since 2008, 2007, 8, is nothing has changed. So they've added more regulations for the banking sector, right? So a lot of people thought, that's it. So now banks are being controlled. Ooh, they can't be greedy. You do realize we live in a corporate world. So corporations with their expensive lawyers and accountants, if they want to find loopholes, they will find loopholes. What is done, over-regulation, I'm not advocating for deregulation too much either, like no regulation or self-regulation, that's also terrible. But over-regulation is basically creating a situation where monopolies are happening now. You cannot open set up a new bank. There was just one new bank we've had in years. What is it? The Bank of Dave, which is in Yorkshire, I believe, which is just a community bank. You are not allowed to compete. You're not allowed to challenge the establishment, because what they've done is, in the name of essentially left-wingism, which also gets sympathy from a lot of working-class right-wingers, because working-class right-wingers and also the leftists have one thing in common. They all hate the power. Power is bad. So in order to get both sides on their sides, the establishment, the mainstream parties, what they decided to be like, okay, so we're going to raise taxes on the rich and we're going to do over-regulation for these sectors. Everyone was like, yeah, good, bring down the top. But the people, the corrupt, dodgy corporations, they can still find loopholes, whether it's on taxes or regulations. And we will still have to bail them out. And that wouldn't change. What has changed is that these new regulations, especially from the European Union, is now destroying small and medium-sized businesses and individuals and consumers. So who are we going to go to be saved from that tyranny? It's the globalist establishment that are running this narrative. Anyway, this is where we are. And it's now 6:20 p.m. UK time. The reason I'm dressed like this, because I'm getting ready. I'm going to go on Jacob Rees-Mogg's show on GB News from 8 p.m. if you want to watch me. If you're not sick and tired of my face all day with all the videos we've uploaded, I'm going to be on GB News from 8 p.m. with Jacob. Also, if you haven't watched all the other videos, make sure to watch them, especially the ones I'm going to be uploading at 7:30 about this, the managing director of Coutts and Co. Thank you so much for all the support. If you're going to be joining us on Sunday, this Sunday, 23rd, I will hopefully see you guys in London. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then check out the link in the description. We are having a big party for reaching 300,000 subscribers, and we're going to have a few surprise guests, and also not so surprising guests because we already announced Andrew Bridgen will be joining us, and then many others as well. If you want to come and say hi, the link is in the description. Book your tickets immediately. I'm Mahyar, and we are the media.